This is an iHeart podcast.
What if you could decide what happens next in Lively Lewis stories? Now you can, because we're on Rifio. Rifio is the first interactive storytelling platform where you create the next season. Choose your favorite characters, pick the setting, and select the adventure. Then, at the end of each 2-minute episode, you choose how the story continues. No writing, no stress. Just pick, play, and create with us. Search Lively Lewis Stories on Rifio and start your adventure today. Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go!
I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
The story you're about to enjoy was inspired by Joseph and Ashlee. Thank you for your amazing idea. As Ivy pulled back the curtains that covered her window, what she and her brother saw left them speechless. "What are we looking at?" asked Levi with a stunned look on his face. "I have no idea," said Ivy, "but this is terrible." Ivy and her brother continued to stare out her window at a pile after pile after pile of trash. As far as they could see, there were chip bags, candy wrappers, water bottles, napkins, plastic bags, fast food containers, and broken toys. "What happened while we were asleep?" asked Ivy. Levi just shook his head, unable to understand what he was looking at. They called for their parents and heard footsteps in the hallway. However, as they turned around to ask if their parents had seen the outside yet, they got a big surprise because it wasn't their parents at all. Instead, they found themselves face to face with Joseph and Ashlee. They were wearing Planet Patrol shirts and they both looked really sad. "Joseph? Ashlee? What are you two doing here?" asked Levi, walking toward his friends. "We came to talk with you about what's been going on out there," said Joseph. "We need your help." Unlike before, when Joseph and Ashlee asked them to help, Levi and Ivy didn't feel like they could say no or walk away from the situation. What they saw outside needed their attention. "How can we help?" asked Ivy and Levi together. "First off, we need everyone to stop littering. It's totally out of control," replied Ashlee. "Then we need to clean up what's out there," said Joseph. "But it's going to take a lot of help." "Wait a minute, are you telling me that all those piles of trash are because everyone in the neighborhood has been throwing their garbage wherever they want to?" Levi asked, sounding shocked. "Yes, that's exactly what happened," answered Joseph. "When you and Ivy said littering wasn't a big deal, other kids heard you and started littering too. Unfortunately, they followed your example. Then before we all knew it, more and more people started littering because they thought that since the neighborhood was already a mess, what's one more piece of trash?" said Ashlee. "We tried to help as much as we could, but now it's out of control and too big of a problem for just the Planet Patrol to deal with," said Joseph, looking discouraged. "Wow, I didn't think it could ever get this bad," whispered Ivy to her brother. "We need to help, now." Levi nodded his head and told Joseph and Ashlee they'd help however they could. Levi and Ivy ran off to get dressed, but Joseph and Ashlee stopped them. "If you're going to help us," Ashlee began, "and promise not to litter anymore," added Joseph, "then you're going to need these," said Ashlee, holding up a Planet Patrol shirt for each of her friends. "We promise," exclaimed Ivy and Levi. "We should have done this way sooner," said Levi. "We're sorry," added Ivy. They both grabbed their shirts, ready to take on the tremendous, terrible trash towers outside. Armed with as many garbage bags as they had in the house, the 4 Planet Patrollers headed out the front door and knee-deep into old juice boxes, ice cream cups, and paper plates. Levi ran to his garage to grab some shovels and gloves, hoping that they would help them clear the trash away faster. But the more they scooped up trash, the more the pile seemed to grow. And once they looked around, they saw why. While they were cleaning, everyone else in the neighborhood was going about their day, littering and adding more trash all around. "We can't clean up after these litter bugs," said Levi. "We have to teach them not to litter in the first place," added Ivy. Then, once they realize what a good thing they were doing for the planet, then they can all share the task of cleaning up our neighborhood together, exclaimed Levi. You've got it now, said Joseph with a huge smile. That's what we're trying to do for you two, said Ashlee. We didn't mean to embarrass you that day at school, but we also couldn't just let you keep littering. Then we thought working together on Planet Patrol would be the solution because we'd all be doing it together, said Joseph. That's why we asked you to join. That's all in the past, and we're sorry for the way we treated you, said Levi. And our planet, said Ivy, is never too late to do the right thing. So let's do it. Then the Planet Patrollers each put on some gloves, grabbed a shovel, and set out clear path through the trash. That was until they heard something coming from the backyard. That sounds like Mom and Dad, said Levi to his sister. So they all ran to the backyard to ask if they would help too. But when they got back there, it was clear that cleaning up the trash was not on their parents' to-do list that particular day. Levi and Ivy were shocked to see their parents sitting on the deck surrounded by granola bar wrappers and snack bags. Hi, kiddos. Why do you look so surprised? Asked Levi and Ivy's mom. Just look at our backyard, said Ivy. It's a mess. Well, you two never had a problem with it before, said Levi and Ivy's dad. In fact, most of this trash is from you two. Yep, one day we just got tired of telling you to stop littering, and we started to do it too, said Levi and Ivy's mom. We don't like it, but it's just what we're used to now, and it seems too big of a problem to clean it up ourselves. Levi and Ivy couldn't believe what they had started. Mom and Dad, you're right. You were right about everything. Just like Joseph and Ashlee, one little piece of trash is one piece too many, said Levi. Since this mess is too big to clean up alone, we're going to do it together. All of us and the rest of the neighborhood, added Ivy. We need to care for our planet, and right now we definitely aren't doing that. Just look around. Even the animals that call our neighborhood home, they don't look happy at all. And as they looked around, they saw squirrels, chipmunks, and bunnies crawling and hopping through trash with frowns on their faces. Some of them were getting caught up and struggling to go on their way. That made everyone sad, as they saw how their littering was affecting the natural world around them. Levi and Ivy's parents each grabbed some gloves, more garbage bags, and set out with Planet Patrol to gather everyone in their neighborhood for a very important talk. Once all their neighbors had stepped out of their houses and made their way to the street, Joseph, Ashlee, Levi, and Ivy stood on a nearby bench to speak to everyone. They told them all about the negative effects that littering has on the environment. Littering may seem like no big deal until it gets to this level, Joseph began. Just look around. Our neighborhood used to be so beautiful, filled with kids playing outside, riding their bikes, and families gardening and enjoying nature. Now we can't even walk to the house because of how bad it's gotten, continued Ashlee. And it's all because we thought our little piece of litter wouldn't make that big of a difference. Well, it does make a difference. Litter in any amount can pollute our soil, water, and air, said Levi. And look around at how unhappy all the animals are that live in our neighborhood, added Ivy. Littering can lead to habitat destruction and harm all of this wonderful wildlife. It was the first time the entire neighborhood had come together and heard this message. They immediately looked around at each other, realizing that none of them wanted to continue to see their neighborhood like this. They knew they'd all be happier if things were back to the way they used to be, and now they had the entire neighborhood's support. Everyone felt that it was a task they could take on and complete. So they all grabbed gloves, shovels, and garbage bags and got to work. Some shoveled up the trash while others sorted recycling. And before they knew it, after working all day long, the neighborhood was once again litter-free and beautiful. They could not have been happier at the wonderful work they did. Planet Patrol thanked their neighbors for all they did, as everyone headed home to get a well-deserved rest. Thank you so much for not giving up on us, said Levi to Joseph and Ashlee. Yeah, thank you for helping us clean up the neighborhood and see how bad littering can be if you don't take it seriously, added Ivy. It was so much fun working with both of you today, said Joseph. And now that you're Planet Patrollers, we can all continue to keep an eye on our neighborhood and our planet to make sure we treat it with respect and keep it clean for all of us to enjoy, said Ashlee. Then she and Joseph yawned and smiled at her friends. With a few high fives and a wave, they turned to leave, walking home on a clean, litter-free sidewalk as Levi and Ivy walked into their house. Once inside, Levi and Ivy cleaned up, put on their pajamas, and fell into bed, tired from a day of hard work of planet patrolling. As soon as their heads hit their pillows, they were fast asleep. And when they each woke up the next morning, it felt like they had been asleep for days. Not wanting them to be late for school, they had been awoken by their parents calling their names. Levi, Ivy! Levi, Ivy, wake up! Levi and Ivy stretched and opened their eyes. Was it all a dream? They thought to themselves. Then they jumped out of bed, each very excited to see what the other had to say. Ivy, did you have a crazy dream last night? Asked Levi. You mean one about our neighborhood being full of litter and us cleaning it all up with Joseph, Ashlee, Mom, Dad, and the whole neighborhood? Asked Ivy. That's the one, laughed Levi. Was it really all a dream? It seemed so real. Then their eyes both got wide as they ran to Ivy's window. When they looked out, much to their delight, their neighborhood was clean and beautiful. Squirrels, chipmunks, and bunnies ran through the green grass on the front lawns, and neighbors took their morning walks enjoying the beauty of the nature world all around them. A world that Levi and Ivy promised each other they'd take care of from that moment on. Levi and Ivy ran downstairs full of energy and ready to talk to Joseph and Ashlee as soon as they got to school that morning. But they didn't have to wait for school. As Levi and Ivy were finishing up their breakfast and telling their parents all about their amazing dream, they heard a knock at their front door. It was Joseph and Ashlee standing on their porch with huge, excited smiles. We had to run over here and ask you a question, said Joseph, barely able to control his excitement. Lucky for him, Levi and Ivy knew exactly why they were there. Was it about a super amazing dream you had last night? One that you were wondering if we had too? Whispered Levi as he and Ivy smiled at their friends. Yes, exactly, exclaimed Ashlee. Planet Patrol cleaned up the whole neighborhood and you two said you'd never litter again. We're so sorry we ever littered in the first place. Thinking it was no big deal, said Ivy. We definitely will be signing up, officially, to Planet Patrol today. Levi and I are so excited to work with you both to keep our neighborhood and our planet clean. We like what we hear, said Levi and Ivy's dad, who had been listening from the kitchen. No more littering around here or anywhere else is a great promise to make, added Levi and Ivy's mom. The four friends then headed off to school, talking about all the other things they could do to help care for our planet. The rest of that week, they prepared for their school's Earth Day celebration. Ready to share with their friends Planet Patrol's list of things to do to help your community and the planet. Things like recycling cans, glass, and paper, not leaving the water running while brushing your teeth, turning off lights to save electricity when you're not using them, using reusable items as much as possible, riding bikes or walking places close by instead of taking a car, and volunteering to help with local cleanups. And on the day of the big Earth Day celebration, as Levi, Ivy, Joseph, and Ashlee walked to school, they saw a candy bar wrapper tumbling by them on the sidewalk. Then, as if by magic, it was picked up by a gust of wind, swirled around in front of them, and dropped perfectly into a nearby trash can that sat at the entrance to the park. Wow, said the four Planet Patrollers. Yes, it was just a coincidence, a 1-in-a-million scenario. But with help like that and the help of the Planet Patrol, Levi and Ivy knew they could make a difference. Because caring for the planet was a habit that Levi and Ivy were proud of. One they were happy to show off to others, and one that could really make a big difference in a wonderful way. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.
This is an iHeart podcast.